Hey everybody! I hope you're having a good week. This is Miss Janelle, and I get to do our Devo video this week with y'all. And our story today is how Jesus healed on the Sabbath, and it's found in John chapter 5. So if y'all want to grab your Bibles, if you don't already have them, and turn there, I'll read and you can follow along and we'll get started. All right. Okay, so that's John chapter 5. And I'll read verses 1 through 9. After this, there was a feast of the Jews, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. Now there is in Jerusalem by the sheep gate a pool, in Aramaic called Bethesda, which has 5 roofed colonnades. In these lay a multitude of invalids, blind, lame, and paralyzed. One man was there who had been an invalid for 38 years. When Jesus saw him lying there, he knew that he had already been there a long time. And he said to him, "Do you want to be healed?" The sick man answered him, "Sir, I have no one to put me into the pool when the water is stirred up, and while I am going, another steps down before me." Jesus said to him, "Get up, take up your bed and walk." And at once the man was healed, and he took up his bed and walked. Now that day was the Sabbath. Okay, let's recap our story. We've got Jesus who went to Jerusalem while there's a festival going on. All right, and in that city there's the temple and there's a sheep gate, which is literally a gate for the sheep to go through to get into the temple. And near that sheep gate is a pool. And these verses talk about people who are blind or lame, paralyzed, who are sick, go and gather around this pool to get into the water to feel better. All right. So there was one man there, and he had been sick for almost 40 years. It said 38 in the verse. All right, and Jesus saw him lying there, and he knew. Jesus knows. He knows us. He knows our situations, and Jesus knew that he had been there a long time. And Jesus said to the man, "Do you want to be made well? Do you want to be healed?" And the man, he's thinking, well, I want to, but I can't get into the pool. And he said that he doesn't have family, he doesn't have friends to lower him into the pool when the water's stirred up. And in my mind, I'm thinking about like a swimming pool. In the summer, there's the steps on the shallow end, all right? And there's the first step that you kind of sit in, get used to the temperature, you get into the second step and you lower and lower yourself in. Now, I know some of y'all cannonball into the pool, but that's not my style. I lower myself in, okay? And that's how I picture this man and the people in this pool. They lower themselves in. All right, so this man's saying, "Hey, yeah, I want to be healed, but I can't get in the pool." And he said that people would always step down in front of him. They'd get in his way. And y'all have probably been standing in line somewhere before where people just kind of cut in front of you. And you can kind of step back and man, it was my turn, but you kind of got in front of me. Especially in places that are really crowded. Sometimes other kids honestly just aren't paying attention. They're thinking about themselves. And that's probably what was happening in this pool is people are just thinking about themselves and they're trying to get in before anybody else. All right, so Jesus looked at the man. He said, "Stand up, grab your mat, and walk." And what did the man do? He stood up, grabbed his mat, and he walked. He was healed. And this happened on the Sabbath day. And that's important. We're going to talk about why that's included there later. All right, so let's imagine together. Let's imagine kind of ourselves in this situation, Jesus in this situation, what's going on. Okay, so I'm going to talk through like 4 different questions. All right, so number 1. Oh, that's backwards. Is that backwards to y'all? Okay, well, I need the reminder. Number 1. Okay, so imagine Jesus is hanging out with many people who didn't feel well. All right, and I want you to think, why did he do this? Like, there's this party going on in Jerusalem. Why is he hanging out with these people? What do y'all think? Give me a second to think about it. Okay. Some of your answers might have been, well, he loved people. He felt compassion towards them. And it's true. Like, that's his heart. That's Jesus' heart for us. And it was his heart then, and it's his heart now. Okay, so I'm kind of thinking about when I'm sick, maybe you've been the sick one in your family, and I don't know about y'all, but growing up, we would lay on the couch when we didn't feel well, right? So we're in the living room on the couch with our crackers and our, ginger ale or Sprite. And but my brothers and sister, they'd all be running around me, right? They'd be going outside. Neighbors are knocking on the door, and I can hear them or see them in the yard. And maybe that's the same for y'all. When you're sick, you can see what everybody else is doing, but you don't feel good enough to go participate. You're laying on the couch, all right? And it just kind of stinks when you're sick, to see everybody else having fun, and you're just kind of laying there not feeling good. All right, so when you've been in that situation, maybe you've had your mom or dad or grandma or even your brother or sister just come and sit on the couch with you or sit next to you, and y'all watch a TV show together, or you talk or you laugh, or maybe you just kind of color and are quiet together. How did that make you feel? For me, it made me feel not alone, And so I think that's what Jesus was doing for this man. He just wanted to be with him so that this man didn't feel alone, who had nobody to even help him down into the pool. So why do you think Jesus wanted to do that? Probably because he wanted to be with this man and love him and just show him some compassion, just like you've been shown compassion before when you're sick. Okay, number 2. Even though this is backwards for y'all. Okay. Number 2, Jesus was in Jerusalem for this special festival. Okay, but instead of focusing on the festival, he's interested in being with the people around this pool who need healing. Okay, so my question is, how does that choice show the true meaning of our faith? How does Jesus choosing to do that show the true meaning of our faith? What it made me think of was that verse where Jesus commands us to love our neighbor as ourselves. Okay, so just like when you have ever been sick and laying on the couch and someone in your family comes and just sits with you. They decide not to go outside and play in the front yard with all the neighbors on scooters and bikes and whatnot. They're just there with you inside while you're not feeling good. Okay, that's somebody loving you like they would want to be loved. Okay, so what's the true meaning of our faith? It's to love people. And that's what we see Jesus doing in this story. Okay, number 3. Tricked ya, it's on this side. Number 3, what does it feel like to be healthy again after you've been sick for a couple of days? How do y'all feel? I'm so curious what y'all are saying to each other. I know I feel like I have energy, like I'm back to my normal self, like let's run, let's play, like let's eat food, like food tastes better when you're not sick, buy crackers, buy toast, let's eat pizza, let's eat like fruit with lots of flavor. So you have energy, you feel good, you want to be around people, you want to celebrate. Okay, so imagine, what do you think this man felt like after Jesus healed him? And he'd been sick for almost 40 years. If you think about that, your parents might be around 40 years old, maybe younger, maybe a little older, or some of your teachers or aunts or uncles. That's a long time. So imagine, like, your parents had been sick their entire life. Like, that's how long this man had been sick for. Okay, so how do you think he responded? I'm pretty sure he jumped up and looked around and probably was telling whoever would listen what just happened. And if he had been sick that long, the people in this town, even though they pushed and shoved in front of him in the pool, they'd seen him. They'd known he'd been sick that long. And so I'm sure they were amazed too. Okay, number 4, last thing to think about. Okay, can you think of a time you had to break a rule in order to do the kind and loving thing? Now we're asking kind of this question because the story talks about how Jesus healed on the Sabbath day. And by law at that time, they said, you're not allowed to work on the Sabbath day. All right, so people gave Jesus a hard time for healing on the Sabbath. But, did he do the right thing? Yes, he did the loving, kind thing for this man. Okay, so think about a time that you've had to break a rule in order to do the kind and loving thing. I know, it's a hard one. Okay, something I thought about when we were growing up, we had a bedtime. Some of y'all, or maybe most of y'all, have generally a bedtime. And so ours growing up, I think when I was in early elementary school, was like 8:30. We could stay up until 9 o'clock if we wanted to read. But sometimes my parents would break that rule if we had guests over. All right, so we're showing hospitality. We're letting people know they're welcome in our home. And so we would break that rule of, okay, bedtime's at 8:30. And instead of going and taking baths and putting on our pajamas while we have people hanging out in our house, we'd hang out with them instead. And we went to bed late, you know. And so that kind of reminded me of a rule we would break growing up. Just to show hospitality, to show love and compassion to the people who were there with us. Okay, so the next question is, when you've broken a rule to show love and compassion, was it worth it? What do you think? Yeah, I think about the people who were in our house who felt welcomed and loved. They weren't rushed away. I think it was worth it for them and us. Like, our hearts were full and blessed to be around people. Okay. So our takeaways for today. Number 1, Jesus went to be with this man who was alone, and he showed him love and compassion. All right, so 2, how can we be like Jesus in this situation? How can we show love and compassion to somebody this week? What do you think? Well, I think we should pray about it. I'm going to pray right now and just kind of listen and see if God puts a name on your heart or anyone in your mind. And then kind of talk to your parents about it and see how you can show love and compassion to someone this week. All right. Lord, we love you so much. Thank you for stories in your word that teach us about you and who you are and your heart. And I pray that we'll have your heart starting today, this week. Just who would you like us to show love and compassion to this week? Would you show us, Lord? Tell us. We love you so much. Amen. All right, y'all. Hope you have a great day, great week, and hope to see you in the parking lot service soon.